Good evening. Oh, sorry, I'm running a little bit later than usual. So anyway, here we go. I need to start the chat before I forget again. So thank you for being here for the final live stream of our book study on Paul Kingsnorth Against the Machine. We'll be looking at chapters 24 through 27. And as per usual, I will just read my blog post. Again, as always, there should be a link to the blog post under the video on Substack at the Gadfly Academy Substack. This week's blog post is entitled Progress is Religion, or Is Progress a Religion? So, as always, please send messages through the text, questions or comments. And without further ado, we'll get on. We've got 4 chapters to go through this week. So as usual, I start with a quote from the book. Here's the quote. Resisting the machine requires a loud and clear refutation of the worldview that created it. It requires us to stand against progress. It also requires an alternative worldview, something to stand for and stand upon. Not an ideology, mind you, and certainly not a blueprint for utopia. That's what got us into this mess in the first place. No, what is needed is something more old-fashioned, a stance, a place to stand based on a particular reality. What is needed, in short, is an anti-machine position. What should it look like? It's from page 275. So in chapter 24, and throughout the rest of the book, Kingsnorth addresses precisely this question: what might an anti-machine position look like? He adopts the term reactionary radical, coined by American sociologist Craig Calhoun. What would this look like in practice? Apparently much like life 200 plus years ago in the pre-machine era. Here's another quote from the book. Accustomed as we are now to work and home and consumption and production, it can be hard for us to understand that for most people in pre-machine economies, these amounted to the same thing. So work, home, consumption, and production were all obviously just what one did at home with one's family. They weren't broken up into different domains like that. One of the few silver linings in the modern world is that those who are able to work from home have the opportunity to, by repatriating work to the home, to at least somewhat move back towards this older model. While at times nostalgic, Kingsnorth is no utopian and realizes that hope for the future lies with those who are able to find creative solutions. The main struggle will be for folk to keep their focus on those things that constitute the North Star of the anti-machine stance. And in delineating this stance, Kingsnorth offers a number of ideas. I broke them into 11. So these 11 items are part of his anti-machine stance. 1, pushing back against progress theology, the idea that we are on this constant path forward and that somehow this is what we're supposed to do as humans. 2, a defense of and the building of a moral economy at the human scale. 3, the rejection of the atomized individualism of the liberal era. 4, the embrace of family, home, and place. 5, the love of the particular while not rejecting the outsider. 6, the suspicion of large agglomerations of power. 7, the rejection of abstract ideologies. 8, the suspicion of material progress. 9, the limiting rather than multiplying of our needs. 10, the opposition to technologies that threaten the moral economy. And finally, 11 is the establishment of a moral order based on love of neighbor rather than on competition. I'm sure there are other aspects that could be included in that list. Before moving on to chapter 25, I wanted to respond to Kingsnorth's words earlier in the chapter where he writes, quote, "The last century has been an inferno of competing ideals on both left and right and elsewhere, all offering a better world, but none of them has really challenged the ideology, the theology of progress at its root." And that's from page 276. So I hesitate to weigh in on political matters, as many folk are too caught up in the emotions of these debates as to be able to think critically about them. So it's with a certain trepidation that I mention that it has struck me in recent days that the current controversy happening in the United States is a great example of machine politics at work. The previous US administration created a crisis, in this case, an immigration crisis, which is now being quote unquote solved by increased state involvement, marshaled to quote unquote fix the crisis. In both cases, the machine wins. Increased immigration leads to the destruction of borders and limits, while the current reaction / overreaction leads to an increased state control. While those on the quote unquote left and those on the quote unquote right blame one another and fail to see what is actually happening in the big picture. So that is chapter 24. And I think there are some folks out there, but I don't have any comments or questions, so I'll just continue. I begin the next section again with a quote from the book. Like laissez-faire economics or aristocracy, the state, which has only existed for the last 1% of human history, did not simply evolve as some logical phase of human development. It was created by the use of raw power through land seizures, slavery, enforced labor, and taxation. It's from pages 290 and 291. So in chapter 25, Kingsnorth digs deeper into his vision for a path forward and considers on a macro level what this might look like. Unsurprisingly, he does not have any one-size-fits-all solutions, but instead emphasizes that idiosyncratic solutions will need to be found on the margins in the shatter zones where state power has the least control. There are already many communities that exist in this space. Most nations have their indigenous tribes, much less so in Europe than in other parts of the world. But even in Europe, there are the Roma, among others. We are unaware of most of these groups because most of us are cooked, quote unquote, cooked, and live in the machine world. Increasingly, there will be a need to be encouraged, inspired, and nourished by other communities that have found a way to live on the margins of the machine world. Other groups that would fit within this category include various intentional communities, the Amish, Native American communities, monastic communities, etc. Here's another quote from the book. Each of these ascetic paths, that of the raw and that of the cooked, incorporates two simple principles. First, drawing a line and saying no further. Second, making sure that you pass any technologies that you do use through a sieve of critical judgment. What or when do they ultimately serve? Humanity or the machine? Nature or the technium? God or his adversary? If we interrogate everything we come across in this way, if we question the technologies that are served up to us, accepting those that serve the common good, rejecting those that undermine it, and holding our line against them, then we will be approaching the kind of sensible and intelligent relationship with technology that our machine culture seems intrinsically unable to offer us. Raw or cooked, we will at the very least be asking the right questions, questions which will equip us to live through the age of the technium with our eyes open. It's from pages 306 and 307. We move on to chapter 26, where Kingsnorth continues his consideration of what the path forward might look like, this time offering less of a macro and more of a micro level view. He continues to make the argument that our current situation is dire and worthy of serious concern, and then suggests a basic path forward that all humans can take, that of technological ascesis. Again, he doesn't offer a one-size-fits-all prescription, but rather encourages everyone to draw their own lines in the sand. Without this line, the machine will continue to force itself into our lives in increasingly coercive ways. So another quote from the book. If we can see what it, that is the machine, is, we have a duty to speak the words to those who do not yet see, all the while struggling to remain human. It's from page 317. So Kingsnorth saves his most poetic chapter for last. In chapter 27, he makes his final argument. And this is really my interpretation of the argument. So maybe he would disagree that that's what it's mostly about, but I think that's the subtext. So I just kind of drew it out as I saw it. But his final argument essentially is that we are ultimately made for another world. So even though we have human work to do in this life, we mustn't despair. In the meantime, he calls for the building of a new counterculture and asks the question, what would a new counterculture look like? And here are a few of his suggestions. One, it would not reject the past. Two, it would not attempt to establish some abstract utopia. Three, it would be rooted in eternal things. Four, its feet would be, quote, on the ground and its face pointed toward the dream time, end quote. And when I see dream time, I think he's essentially referring to heaven. Five, it would reject radical individualism. And six, at its quote, at its heart would be the values of people, place, prayer, and the past, end quote. And of course, finally, if one has been convinced of Kingsnorth's view of history and of our contemporary predicament, we all have a certain responsibility to help others understand as well. As always, Kingsnorth doesn't offer prescriptions, but simply an encouragement to engage with those we love regarding some of the most existential issues of our time, which is exactly why I wanted to run this book study, to encourage you to read the book. So hopefully you have found it inspiring and convicting, maybe. I'm not sure what other word to use, but I know that I did. I've had these thoughts for decades. I'm grateful that Paul pulled all of them together into one book. And the question then is, where do we go from here? 2026 will be a year where I kind of continue to consider that question. If you haven't already downloaded the How Did We Get Here reading list, you can do so and join our newsletter. In a lot of ways, Paul Kingsnorth's book is a summation of many of those books that are on that reading list. But there's certainly all sorts of different aspects that Kingsnorth didn't get into, although he did a really good job of providing a broad and deep exposition of them. So we will continue to discuss these things, and things are going to look a little bit different here at Gadfly Academy, but hopefully we'll continue to find ways to be relevant and engage these questions in helpful ways. Yeah, so thank you again. I don't know if anyone's chimed in. Oh, someone's greetings from New Zealand. I'm guessing you're not my friend, Jonathan. So greetings. I have a friend from the United States, Jonathan, who is visiting New Zealand currently. So I guess it is the middle of the day for you, or maybe earlyish morning. And also, I guess, the middle of the summer. So enjoy the warm weather. Glad to have you here. And that's about it. That's all I got for you tonight. Look forward to reconnecting. This is it for the live streams for now. I may pick them up again in the future, but it's been good. Thank you for those of you who have followed along and engaged, and look forward to continuing our conversation, God willing. Take care. Good night.